Hello, my name is Adrian Ruiz, and I will be doing my presentation on the potential for life on the red planet, or as you know it, Mars. So, in order to find out if life can live on Mars, first we have to go over the Mars environment itself. The atmospheric composition of Mars is majority CO2 and random gases. To be specific, it is primarily 95% carbon dioxide, and the remainder is composed of oxygen, nitrogen, argon, and carbon monoxide. We also know that Mars is below freezing. The average temperature on Mars is extremely cold at negative 63 degrees Celsius. I'm sure if you had a glass of water and threw it in the air, it would freeze immediately upon contact with the atmosphere. Now, although the surface is relatively barren, there is evidence of groundwater underneath the surface of Mars, as well as frozen lakes on the North and South Poles, which I'm sure you've seen in pictures of the red planet itself. And, as we all know, water is tantamount to the existence of life. Now that we've gone over the environment itself, we will go over the bacteria that can withstand that environment, beginning with bacteria that can withstand little to no oxygen. So there are multiple types of bacteria we know today that can survive extreme temperatures and environments. Many bacteria are present on Earth and are capable of surviving without oxygen present. One of which is Escherichia coli. This is a gram-negative rod bacteria, and it is a facultative anaerobe. So, facultative anaerobes are those that can survive without oxygen, but use it when it's available. This type of bacteria would be most likely to be present underneath the surface of Mars. The next one we will go over is the gram-positive rod bacteria, such as Clostridium tetani, which is an obligate anaerobe. Obligate anaerobic bacteria are those that cannot survive in the presence of oxygen. They either die when they are exposed to it, or it severely inhibits their growth. This type of bacteria would be the most likely to be present on the surface of Mars. So, since there are frozen lakes and water found underneath the surface of Mars, scientists have speculated that these may have a very high salt content. So the microbes on this planet must also be able to survive a saline environment. These types of bacteria are present on Earth as well, and are known as halophiles, which are salt-loving bacteria. Scientists have speculated that there is a high possibility of the presence of this type of bacteria on Mars. So, the presence of water and certain minerals on Mars could create a reaction in the soil, creating sulfate minerals. These sulfate minerals could give rise to sulfite-reducing microbes, and a study of the minerals in Martian rocks have shown that there are actually enough of these minerals present on Mars to support the hypothesis that these microbes could exist underground. In this image, you see the soil of Mars, the regular soil you can see on the outside, which is a brown color. And in the very center, you can see a blackening of the soil itself. So this could indicate the presence of sulfide-reducing bacteria or fungi due to the blackening of the soil, which could indicate that bacteria or fungi are using this reaction as energy. So since we know that it is extremely cold, we also need to look at fungi or bacteria that can survive these freezing temperatures. There are fungi today that have adapted to cold weather by synthesizing proteins and carbohydrates into a form of antifreeze. An example of this would be P. panorum, which is a fungus that is well known for surviving temperatures well below freezing. So now that we know that fungi can survive in freezing temperature, we're going to go ahead and look at this table of organisms that can survive extremes. This table right here shows multiple extremophile bacteria, fungi, and archaea, with it divided into extremophile type, the ecosystem they live in, the temperatures that they can survive, the acidity, pressure, and salinity. So we're going to go ahead and look at the two towards the bottom, which, as you can see, says Mars-like conditions, vacuum, UV, and space radiation. The first one we'll look at is Deinococcus radiodurans, which is a bacteria that is found most commonly in spoiled canned meat. They are vacuum and radiation tolerant and are capable of surviving in Mars-like conditions. The next one we'll look at is Cryomyces antarcticus, which is a fungi found in Antarctica, which can also survive in Mars-like conditions, a vacuum, UV, and space radiation. There is also another one here called Pedobacter arcticus, another bacteria which is a psychrophile. Psychrophile meaning that it can survive in very cold temperatures. It is typically found in the tundra soil. You can feel free to look at all of these other extremophile types, bacterias, and archaeas, and see which types of environments they are capable of surviving in. Probable evidence of life on the red planet. So for fungi, there has been found a correlation between mutations and stress, in which the mutations would most likely be beneficial. In a high-stress environment such as Mars, there remains a possibility that some fungi could have mutated and evolved to survive on Mars. There must be at least a handful of mutations which would be able to help it survive. And fungi, as we know, can go dormant when conditions are no longer favorable for their survival. When they become dormant during these harshest weather extremes, they can create spores, which, as we also know, are extremely resilient. These spores would then grow when conditions that are favorable return. For bacteria, since there are bacteria on Earth that can survive extremes, there are also areas on Mars that resemble certain locations on Earth. So it is highly probable that there are bacteria species surviving either on the surface or underground where water resides. There is also fossil evidence that suggests that at one point there have been microbes living on Mars as recent as 165 million years ago. Although this may seem like a very long time ago, when you compare it to the age of our planet, it's actually not too far back. These fossils were found on Martian meteorites that fell to Earth, usually during impact events which sent Martian rocks into the atmosphere, exited the atmosphere, and fell to Earth. It is highly possible that the microbial fossils could have bacterial descendants surviving on the red planet. There is also photographic evidence that suggests fungi and bacteria are surviving today. So this right here is an image taken by the Mars Curiosity rover, which indicates the presence of Basidiomycota. This is a certain kind of fungi which are known for their puffball shapes and are characteristically known for growing into spherical shaped mushrooms. And as you look at this image, you can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spheres, 2 of which are connected, which can indicate growth, replication of the fungi. There is still a lot to learn and, many tests to run in order to confirm the existence of life on Mars. Scientists are still running tests on the soil. As we all know, there is another rover currently going on Mars and collecting samples for scientists. Hopefully, one day we can find concrete evidence of microbes present on Mars, whether it be bacteria or fungi. Thank you guys so much for listening. This next page has references. Feel free to look at them. If you want to read more about it, the second link on the bottom, toward the second link from the top, has a lot of interesting images that you can look at and come to possibly your own conclusions. Thank you guys so much.